come. Achieve success with Global.Media.com. Then celebrate it with or without champagne or rum.
Yay. Paulette, is all yours.
Hello everybody. Long time no see. Some of you I'd have seen yesterday at Lisa's. Was a really good room, and actually the topic is not terribly dissimilar, although obviously hers is more menopause driven. But the reason it's not terribly dissimilar is because it's about allowing yourself to acknowledge a situation. So I'm Paulette Hallam. Today we're going to talk about how we deal and process with emotions without judgment. And it's not always easy. And I'm the first to say that I'm not the best at it. But I've learned that there is a way, and the process is something, if you follow very clearly, you can get through. So I'm going to take you on that little journey in a little while. But just before I do that, Paulette Hallam, this is our first mental wellness cafe since I think it was April. I was ill, and then it's been a roller coaster ride since then. So May, June, July, August, pretty much a write-off. September still just finding my feet. So it's been a tough ride back, but we're here now, and hopefully a lot of my friends are still here and remember who I am. And obviously we've got the wonderful Annie, who is here holding my hand and making sure that I don't press any wrong buttons, which I can do. So he's in control of the knobs and dials, and I'm in control of just the mouthpiece. So over to you, Annie. Introduce yourself. Tell us what a wonderful publicist you are.
For publicist, that's a new label you're giving me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, now I know why these people do two versions of the video. So okay. See, so StreamYard now gives us the option to stream this way, landscape, and also the option to stream in a portrait.
Oh.
Because mobile phones.
Yeah.
And it seems like StreamYard, not StreamYard, YouTube does both formats.
Landscape, doesn't it?
Yeah, it used to, but so now they set up two different events for each time. So now you have a portrait and a landscape events. At least I just learned that from my phone.
Well, there you are. We learn something every day.
Yes. Welcome, Mike. Love the IRO. Who wrote the eyes? It wasn't me, was it? Okay, hopefully it wasn't me. It might have been me. It was you.
It was you.
It was me.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't thinking IRO. I was just looking at my phone, thinking, okay, at least I get that now. Yeah, you do look a bit different in close up on the what's it called, on the strange one, on the portrait one. Crystal, welcome. We see you.
I look strange. What do you mean I look strange?
It's a bit close up. You can't see.
Oh.
You can't see. Right. Okay. No. Okay. So I've left you on screen. That's why. All right. Okay. It's a bit close.
I don't want two versions. I mean, one's enough, really.
There's two versions of you, so it's all right.
I need a new. Is there a new body in there? Can I get a new body? I'll have a new body, please.
No, there's still the same Lord Paulette. Is what it looks like. But welcome our friends. Say welcome. I see you, Cyrus. Welcome. Of course, Cyrus is streaming the show to his TV
website.
Yeah, what's it called? That's what I'm trying to remember. I'm go on, Cyrus. Remind me, right? Say it's you that was rolling your eyes, Paulette. It's you.
I'm just cheeky. Full stop. You'll get to see Mike. You'll get to see me. I do it all the time.
So Crystal, it's great to have you here. Crystal, I mean, I've never had 15 people from YouTube on any of our events. Crystal brings them on.
She always brings a lovely crowd. And always lovely people as well. So thank you for that, Crystal, because they're my kind of people as well. People that think with their hearts. That's kind of like my kind of people.
You know,
So, are you going to tell us what you do, or should I just crack on?
if you haven't been to Crystal's shows, do go and subscribe to her
Oh,
channel.
yeah.
Or let them ignore
Yeah,
you.
I know. Okay. So, Ennio Sung is the bookman, and he's the godfather of LinkedIn, and he's the master of all things LinkedIn and now StreamYard. And he's very reasonable for, for what he does. Obviously, depending on how much of his time you need to take up. I took up quite a lot, but there you go. I was worth it. Um, but we've now sold thousands of books. We've got books all over the world, and that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this man here. So I owe him an awful lot. Jack and Walter owe him an awful lot. And I
Yeah.
repay him and LinkedIn by doing these shows because I think our mental wellness is the key to everything. If we can succeed in getting our mental wellness in a better place, then our lives become easier. Everything becomes easier. So,
Yeah.
are you happy with the way I promoted you, sir?
I tell you, I couldn't have done it better myself. I must say,
Well, you had
beautifully
the
done.
chance.
Look, you think she doesn't pay? She thinks she doesn't pay me cash for publishing her books. She does. I'm just saying that. Don't be calling me going. You do books free for Paulette. I
Oh,
want
no,
free
no,
too.
no, no, no,
Doesn't
no.
that last
For the
nuts? No.
book publishing and for helping me get them produced and everything else, Annie is 100% involved. And even getting the books to Uganda, Annie helped me get them printed at the cheapest price possible so that we could get them through Michael to Calm to Uganda. And I'm truly, truly grateful to Sharon Nabakir because when you have someone that dedicated that thinks with their heart, again, our kind of people, they are there helping orphanages, helping children that are underprivileged. Yes, we have them in every country, but there was somebody I saw trying her damnedest and not getting the support she deserved. And sometimes you just have to step up and say, I'll be that person and I've got something that will help. And that was the Jack and Water books. And literally, they've done so much good. And we are doing this in, so many different um, states around the US, Canada, Australia. Um, Even some books went to South Africa. They're in France, they're in Germany. I mean, they're literally all over Europe. And the part of this that makes me happy is number one, but they haven't been translated, they're in English. So that makes my life slightly easier. But number two, the message is still the same. We all need something or somebody. And in Jack and Water's case, Jack's got his water. Water is actually his conscious mind, his thinking mind, the mind that tells you, it's really not a good idea to play on the train tracks, or it's really not a good idea to play chicken when on a fast road or whatever. The mind that really says to you, don't make that mistake, or how about somebody's died? How do I cheer them up? How about we throw them a party? I'm not sure that's a good idea, says Walter. That's your inner conscious mind, just keeping you on track and not the railway tracks, the right track. And it's all about, when I talk about a friend, sometimes your best friend is yourself because nobody is going to give you self care like yourself. And that might sound a really selfish comment to make, but we all need time for ourselves. We all need time to give ourselves the love that we need. And I'm a great believer that whenever anybody who has been in any way, shape, or form traumatized or has had something happen to them, we should never expect them to just snap out of it. Come on, pull yourself together. What is all that about? That isn't mental wellness, that's mental cruelty. So I want to try and talk about how we can help people come to a state where they are in control of their wellness. So I'm not going to be here to teach or tell you the practices that you would have in a therapy room. I'm just going to give you the general idea, the general overview, and you take from that. And if something there really resonates, go look it up. There'll be loads of pages on it. There's nothing new in psychology, sociology, or really mental wellness or mental health. It tends to just get regurgitated a bit in different languages. Much of the recent there are some things that come up that really shock me. Like I read a report about widows having survivor's guilt. Now that is never something that I would have thought. I would have thought survivor's guilt happens like somebody dies in a car crash and you walk away or something like that, but not when your partner dies through, illness or natural causes. But actually, survivor guilt is a big thing, and this is only being found out in a recent study. So, there are changes and lots of studies going on all the time, and we're learning. But the basis of what I'm talking about is what I want the message to get over to people. So it's allowing yourself to acknowledge and process your emotions without judgment. And there is a thing about speaking out loud your feelings. It's so much easier when you've said it once. I had a friend who was or is gay, and he said to me once, "How many times do you think I come out?" And I said, "I don't know. How many times you come out?" He said, "Every time I bloody meet someone." And I was like, "Oh, I thought you only came out once." He said, "No." He said, "You come out to one friend, and you have to come out to another friend, and then you come out to your parents, and you come out to you go, and before you know where you are, you're coming out all the time." That is easier the more you say it, but it depends on who and where you're saying it to. So speaking it out loud, the first time you say I am gay or I am leaving you, I am not tolerating this, I am enough is enough. Whenever you make that statement and you say it out loud, you say it because you mean it. You're saying it because you've actually made a decision. And I think that is about really understanding your feelings. You've come to a point where your emotions have given you a very clear perspective on where you're at. You're not using judgment, you're just using your mind to help you work out the process. I'm so unhappy, or this is so wrong, or I'm not tolerating this at work anymore, or this is bullying, or whatever the problem is. Then you go seek support. Don't just go, "Oh, well, that's it, bang, bosh, whatever." Go seek support, get a sort of second opinion. Doesn't mean you don't trust yourself, but it means that it's always good to talk to a friend. It's always good to talk to a family member. And if you can get a therapist, they're quite hard to get hold of at the moment, but if you can get a therapist, they can help you with giving you that perspective and help you manage those feelings so that although they're there, they're not as emotive. Then next, we need to do something called reevaluate, and reevaluate your expectation of the result. So when you reevaluate what is going to happen when this happens, whatever X is, and you must be realistic. You must be under no illusion that this is whatever it is going to be easy, but you want to go ahead and you want to make a change. And that can be setting a boundary, that can be leaving, that can be just discussing the finances in the family, or it can be a child that is just going in the wrong direction. And you need to sit down as parents and get on the same page. And these are conversations that were happening every day in houses up and down the world. in every country. But I just want us to just be really aware of our wellness. So finally, shift your focus. So what do I mean by shift your focus? What I mean is now put yourself in the position of the person who's going to be receiving whatever it is, news or whatever, and ask yourself, how are they going to react? What is the possibility of a wrong outcome, a good outcome, or a bad outcome? And look for the lessons in that. And if you know that in your heart you're making the right decision, you've thought everything through, then in my view, the lesson is for you to then say, right, I want to change in this situation. And you move forward, but you move forward with grace, you move forward with kindness to yourself as much as to the other person. So that way the anxiety levels are not like going through the roof. Because when you're making any kind of change, anxiety goes through the roof. And we really do need to get on top of anxiety. And I'm just going to give you a couple of very quick examples of that, and then we'll have some conversations with people that want to come in. So, box breathing, I always go back to, whether it's children or adults, because you can easily remember. It's the very straightforward: in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. So that is, a very forward 4-4-4. It's very easy to remember. 4-4-4, never forget it. And you can always go back to your breathing. Doesn't matter what state you get yourself into, crying or whatever, you can just take yourself back to your breathing and you will calm all of that down. I like the 5 fingers. Now, this is a bit of a hands over here. It's a bit of a weird one, but it's great with kids and it works equally well with adults. You have stress, you can have touch. So, so the way I look at it is, in order to get rid of stress, the way to it's to change your focus. So look for something. So people sometimes say choose a color, or look for something red, touch something red, but I'm just saying it's really about seeing something, touching something, hearing something, smelling something, and tasting something. So they are just your 5 senses. We know them, we've grown up with them, we understand them. But what we're doing in that time that we are engaging with our mind, looking around for things, smelling the air, maybe just taking a moment to listen to the birds singing or someone shouting in a corridor or something. In that few minutes, those messages start to stop you from being in a heightened state of anxiety, bringing you back down into a controlled state of emotion. The other way to do that, if you really feel that going up and up and up and up, that you're boiling, is to cross your hands like that across yourself. I'm not doing a very good job with the camera. And put your hands on your shoulders and you just tap. And by doing that, you're almost giving yourself a hug. And it's exactly the same thing, if you think about it, that your mother used to do to soothe you, what you did to soothe your children. And although it looks silly and daft and it might make people go, really? You would be
Can I
surprised how
can
very
I sing,
quickly
can I
that
sing head and
empowers you.
shoulders, knees and toes when I do that?
You can. If it'll help you any, you do it. But it does make a difference. You'll be surprised at just how many people. And if you can't do that because you don't want to be seen as a bit, whatever, you can just tap the table with your fingers, and that will do the same thing. It's about changing your focus, but that tapping is a real sense of love and caring and feeling like you've, I mean, if you don't want to do both hands because it's too obvious, you can just do one, as if you've got a sore arm, and just tap yourself gently, and you'll be surprised just how quickly your anxiety levels come down. And that is not unusual. That is something that butterfly taps are taught throughout all therapy, whether it's well, everything, whatever psychotherapy, therapy, whatever therapy sessions you're going through, the cross arm butterfly tap is something that is used all the time. Another one is a great way to reset yourself is cold water. Now, this is my one. When I'm really, really angry or upset about something, my face goes puce. I mean, like the reddest red, like a pillar box. I am, you don't know, what pillar boxes in our country, they are as red as can be. And I walk around and everyone knows either I'm angry or happy and they don't know what it is. So I go to the bathroom and I just put a bit of cold water on my face, my forehead, and my back of my temples, on my just around my temples, back on my neck, and that just ooh, it's almost like it takes the steam out of you. And that is an absolute amazing way of dealing with the heat of the situation. And I mean the physical heat, because we do feel it, especially as girls, when we get a bit stressed, we're like, woo. And the men, you should notice, it should be a really big sign to guys. If your wife's face is changing colour and she's getting the map of Italy on her neck, you're in trouble. Take a run, because that's a really good sign. The say it out loud piece is the kind of the thing that I was saying last night. It's really important when you've said it out loud and you've actually made that point of, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a plan. I'm going to change my finances. I'm going to change the bank. I'm going to change who my TV channel was with, or my Sky or whatever, or, anything where you feel like something needs to change in your life. Immediately you say, oh God, that's going to be right. Pain in the neck, direct debits, this, that, and the other. And you start to stress yourself out over it. Just say, whoa. Do I need to do this? What's the benefit of doing it? Think it through. Come up with a plan. Do it on a day where you've got a bit of time, because you damn well know that it's going to go wrong, or there's going to be a lot of phone calls. You're going to have to speak to 6 different call centers before you get through to the right person. And you are going to have stress levels on a 10 out of 10. That's the sort of anxiety I'm talking about. Mental wellness is about having control of your mind. And I hope that some of these ideas will just stick around when we're talking. Finally, just because I thought I would, and you know how I like to be prepared, I have got a list of, these are just very quickly, I won't bore you stupid. But the one thing that I know is that you'll never ever regret choosing kindness. Even if they don't deserve it, you did it. And when you do that, when you choose kindness, it makes you feel better. The endorphins, the dopamine rush, all of those things that happen, it's about yourself as much as the other person. If you just give somebody a smile at a cash desk, or you just say thank you a little bit more than you would normally do, that can make the world of difference for that person's day. So I always believe that if you can choose kindness, and I don't just say it, I live by it. And I think that's what's important. A lot of people say a lot of things, and who they are and what they are very different. If you really need to get stuff off your chest, write a letter to yourself or a journal. Just get it out there. If you need to do something, treat yourself. I don't care whether it's a bar of chocolate or a new pair of trousers. Just treat yourself. Whatever you can afford that's going to give you a smile. Sit and watch a funny movie, something that will really make you laugh out loud. Light a candle that makes you just feel relaxed and chilled, and and that puts you in a happy mood. I've got call a friend, but we've kind of talked about that already. Looking at old pictures, looking at family, looking and having memories, especially when you've lost people. Sometimes you don't think about it, but going through photograph albums and things, it doesn't make you sad. It makes you remember the good times. Doesn't have to be, I can't look at that photo, because you can look at that photo and go, I remember when we did this, I remember when we did that. It can be a big positive. Calling an old friend, somebody I haven't spoken to for a while, that can give you a huge lift. Getting dressed up for yourself, putting a bit of makeup on just because, even if you're going to be indoors all day and the only person you're going to see is the courier, just say hi. But you feel good about yourself. Doesn't matter about who else sees you. Find a new TV show. That's a good one. Sometimes people go, oh, there's not, because there's always new shows and you always get recommendations from people. Yoga for breathing and stretching and all of that is brilliant. Meditation, the same. Put on music and dance. Alana Nowie and I will put a piece of music on and we will dance like loonies. Me with my stick like a pole dance. Her dancing and like an absolute maniac, normally in heels, like 6 inches tall. And Michelle Whiteside, who's our resident counsellor, she too will be involved, and we'll have a three screen crazy Zoom dance-a-thon, and it makes us all feel so much better. And we're all miles away from each other, but we feel like we're in the same room just because we're dancing to the same tune. So it's something that there is something in that. The last one I have is eat something sweet. Now, I know people go, Paulette, you shouldn't be encouraging that. But we all know what chocolate does. Chocolate lifts you. We know why it lifts us. We know what's in it. We know how it's structured. There's something, the same as a cup of coffee. They lift you. They give you something. Sometimes we need something. Be kind to yourself. If you're going to be kind to others, also remember to be kind to yourself. And that means the occasional treat. On that note, Annie, I have finished lecturing. The sermon is over. And who is in the room and who would like to talk to us? Can't hear you.
I'm here. I'm
Yeah,
talking.
there you are. You were muted, sir.
So Michael was here just now, and Crystal came in as well, but I don't see them now. Hopefully they'll come back. Crystal's at work,
They'll
so
come back,
hopefully.
hopefully. Well, there is one more thing
This,
I'd like to show you. Have you seen this? Where's the camera?
yeah, it looks quite clear. Yeah.
Success.
Because you have no background.
Success.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to have that there. Here we go. Success is 1% luck, 1% talent, 98% never giving up.
I
And
agree.
I believe that 100,000,000%.
I agree
If there was
I
such a
agree
thing.
100%. I totally agree with you.
So
Let's
just
go.
believe in yourself.
Mm.
That's it. Believe in yourself, trust yourself, and trust your instincts. And 9 times out of 10, they'll be right. Annie,
Yeah.
sorry, dear.
I agree with you. I think, there's something about who we are, right? I think as you're talking, Paul, I'm thinking the first thing is to find our joy. Find your inner joy. You have to work hard to really jam my brain, to really piss me off. You have to work so hard. Yes, I'm even then I'm still not going to respond half the time. I'm that
I
guy
have
who's
to work harder.
yeah, you really do, and almost to the point where it hurts you more than it hurts me. That hard. And I think we are easily let down. I think, but like, I think we need to understand that if we let ourselves expect, people will let us down.
Yeah.
Whereas like, if we take responsibility for most things, we can almost navigate around being let down. Yeah.
It's the expectation in it. If you
Yes.
take the expectation away, then it's not that you're being let down, it's just that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Whereas if you say to yourself, I'm going to get this or that is going to
Mm,
happen and it
mm,
doesn't, then
mm.
you are let down. So,
Yeah.
absolutely. Here we've
No.
got lots of
Again,
lovely people
I
here.
think yeah, Mr. Michael's back and Mike is here as well. Brilliant. I think also there is. It's how we respond, right? Like you just said. I said,
Of
well, we
course.
can find. I think we can always find a different way to get what we want.
Yes.
It's about responding, not reacting. Like I say, unless no, I can't. I'm trying to think. Does someone piss me off today? People have tried, but I'm like, well, whatever. And it normally is what we do or don't do that leads to that feeling of being let down. So if I go
Yeah.
down and expect a cup of tea or I don't get one, should I be upset? No, of course not. Make my own. Better still, shout from upstairs, darling, can I have a cup of tea, please? That might get me a cup of tea when I get there, right? If the client doesn't pay me, there was a time I used to literally have a breakdown, literally, and I would go through all the hating. This client must die, literally. They're awful. They're the worst person ever. I can't believe I'm working with them. But after a while, I've learned that it's not the client really. It's normally what I didn't do. If I want to get paid, I know now to call the client first, have a conversation with them, and say, right, your invoice is coming. Are you ready? That way, I know what's coming. I don't expect to not get paid, right? Of course, there's still people who don't do what I want them to do. It's someone said that there's someone I'm dealing with right now who said, "Oh, my book will be there on Saturday." Yeah, Saturday went past. Tuesday went past. Wednesday, here we are on Wednesday, right? But no, I think there was a time when I just switched off. If the book comes, I'll deal with it. If the book doesn't come, guess what? I'll move on and do other things.
I
So
think
no, I
that's
think.
absolutely the right way to handle it because
Mm,
otherwise, as you say, every time the expectation gets broken, your level of anxiety would have gone up if you hadn't
mm,
have been the person you are. And
mm,
that's what we're talking about. It's about it, it is about when you've been let down or you feel like you've been let down, ask yourself why, ask yourself
mm,
how, and then say to yourself, what part of that do I have to take
mm.
responsibility for? And
I agree.
sometimes it's setting an expectation that
Mm,
was too high and
mm.
was never going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that seems very fair to say that, but I think it's true. We do have this awful habit of expecting the world and
Mm,
getting something very different,
mm,
and
mm.
and then we're shocked.
Yeah,
So
oh, I can't believe that happened. There's two
yeah,
more things I want to
exactly.
say quickly, and I pass the mic to Carm and Mike. I think we have a habit of expecting the worst. We expect to be let down. We expect something to go wrong, and almost like we come to situations ready to fight. Almost
Very
ready
true.
to fight something, ready to fight someone. No, I know you're gonna
Mm.
do something wrong, so I might as well prepare to come to battle. I think that almost ignores the fact that we can attract what happens. We attract being let down. So I may say, so the other way to deal with that situation is talk,
Always.
communicate, communicate. I find out what my friends are thinking. That way, I know. Again, my expectation is not that I'm gonna get X when they're gonna do Y. Only by talking do we really know. And most people don't talk; they just sit there waiting, and then expect the world to fall into what they want.
Yeah.
The other person is doing what they're doing, and I think they're doing what we suggest, Paulette, which is keep themselves happy, do what works for them. So it's not always that they're trying to get at us. Like, it is purely,
That's
you know,
that is such a relevant point because so often our expectation is there's going to be a conflict when actually there's no conflict. It's just a differing of opinions or a miscommunication or a boundary wasn't set that should have been. A person did something that they know they shouldn't have done, and in hindsight, looking back on it, they shouldn't have done it, and they're sorry. And you know, when someone is sorry, should we just accept that they're sorry, providing that whatever it is hasn't really hurt anybody? Then that's something that you two have to work out between your friends or brothers or even partners. But the most important part of this is that you talk. Communication is absolutely key in everything we're talking about today.
I
Anyway,
agree.
I'm going to shut up and let you pass the mic.
Our mind is to do the comments that way. At least we don't ignore our friends in the comments, and then we'll come to Michael. Mike, you're not being funny. You know, Sarah, you need to have any really like. I got like, you can see me clearly. I can't be any brighter, Mike. How much brighter can I be?
No, that's the issue, my friend. You're too bright. You're washing out. So that's what I meant.
Fine. At least they can see me now. There's no alternative. I turn my light down, and then they'll tell me I'm not, whatever. Anyway, I'll ignore that. Namaste. That's an interesting name, right? I don't know what spit on me means. Hopefully, it's not a I don't know, a euphemism for something, right? But that's your comment, my friend. So, Paulette, did you know that you have ganglia both in your solar plexus and the heart? Did you? You did? Okay. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? We don't know. Mike, you can tell us when you get the mic, my friend.
Well, just real quick, the reason I brought that up was she was talking about being kind and thinking with your heart. And it's actually literally that you're thinking with your heart. That's why I mentioned that. The same thing when you're talking about thinking with your gut. You actually have ganglia in your solar plexus.
There's a lot of spit on me on the internet, but I'm a bit scared. I shouldn't look it up. I don't really know what spit on me is. It's a songs and lyrics by Sister. I don't know. We'll have to have a look and see what it means afterwards, but we won't let it bother us either way. The most important thing, Mike, is what do you think and how do you handle that feeling of someone has let you down?
Well, I actually think, and I'm going to be writing an article on this. It's going to be on the article of shrinking versus expanding or being secure in oneself, because I think we have agency. And so I have to look at what my expectation, and that's why I almost wanted to jump in when you and Annie were talking. It's like, am I bringing unrealistic expectations to the table? Have I communicated what is kind of acceptable and what isn't? And I'm not blaming the victim because I've been there, but at the same time, we do have agency to speak up. So that to what your point is, and I was agreeing and vigorously nodding my head, is you have to communicate. You also have to realize both parties in a conversation are going to drag in bias or their own viewpoints and stuff. So I want really to engage in what I call good faith or generative discussions. Well, that means as much as possible that we leave those biases or those thoughts that we had coming into the conversation. I mean, obviously, if they're positive, you want to remain positive, but particularly if they're negative. Or, I mean, they could be positive when maybe you need to not be negative, but, express what you didn't agree with. So you don't just say everything's okay kind of thing. So I think in order to have, to I really have to ask, so is it something I didn't communicate properly? Or is it something, to your point, also I think is very important, is to draw a boundary? Is something they did actually something I can't live with, or is, something that's actually actionable? If that's the case, then I have to say so. And to your point, in any relationship, whether it's a spouse or a family member, you have to communicate the stuff. I am not a mind reader, and I think that's something we have to remember. But to your point, there are physical manifestations of being upset, and I have seen that on occasion. And yes, you do have to pay attention to what those are as well.
I think not nobody's psychic, so well, maybe some people are, but we're not sure. But nobody really knows what's going on in somebody else's mind unless you know that person incredibly well. And that means you've lived with them or you've spent many, many years with them. But that still doesn't mean that you know what other stuff they've been watching, what they've been seeing, what the internet is telling them that is changing the way they think, that is changing the person that used to have this belief and now is having that belief. Um, and we could even go as far as politics and say they used to vote this way, now they're voting that way. And they talk about it to you over the kitchen table, and you practically are throwing Brussels at each other because you can't see the other person's side. And what I always think in these situations is that's personal choice. And you don't need to put your view on that person. You just say, as long as you're comfortable and happy with your decision, that's fine. I'm happy with my decision, you're happy with yours. But don't throw whatever at me if yours goes right and mine goes wrong. At the end of the day, we've just chosen sides, that's all. And that's it. It's all it is. It's like a football match. You've got to try and take the heat out of it. Because I always find that whenever there's heat, it becomes, at times, not always, but it becomes very personal. And then it starts to, this will affect you in this way, this will affect me in that way. And then before you know where you are, you can't get back to the happy medium. You can't get back to the middle where you just had that happy middle ground where you said, well, things are not how they should be, but you know what? It is what it is. You're not doing the blame game. And I think that is another part of the conversation that you're going to write about is the blame game, because that is when, it gets very fiery.
Well, and also the shrinking versus not. The shrinking to me is when maybe I am paying, or how do I put this? That I am giving too much power because that person's not accepting my idea, which is unrealistic to begin with, right? To your point. But when my self identity or self image is based on how you are accepting what I'm saying, and that goes back to what you just said about, we are all going to have beliefs, and I shouldn't have. This goes back into having a bias, though. Is am I really interested in hearing what you have to say and kind of who you are, just kind of pulling that out in a conversation, or am I trying to convince you of something? And I think we have to be really careful, unless, like I said, if you're on, if the house is on fire and you need to get out, then that's different. But generally, if we're talking about ideas, and yes, I have some very core beliefs and ideas, but I have to understand that you have agency, and that you have the right to have your own ideas. Now, where I draw the distinction is where your ideas stop at my nose, meaning that your freedom stops at my nose, and that if somehow what you're doing, usually it's kinetic, not usually saying, unless you're inciting violence, that to me. But I will say, I've been spending a lot of time thinking about how what I what I expect, getting back to expectations of others in that, and I find, unfortunately, quite a bit is that, like with my songwriting, well, do you like my songs? If you don't, it kind of hurts, you know. And I think, by the way, creative people are like that. I don't know if there's a lot you can do about that, but at the same
Of
time, you have to
course, I
say,
agree. Yeah.
but you also have to say, no, I mean, this is, for whatever reason, I had to express this, either, written or, in song format. And then it's up to others to do, because one of the things as an artist, as a, painting and whatnot, I've seen is people look at my art and go, that's, this is what I think of that. I'm like, that's not what I intended. So same thing in songs sometimes. And it's like, you just have to accept that we are all different and that we're going to, come with our own points of view and our lived experience and everything. It's all valid. And that they may not see it the same way. And I think that's key because
Yeah, I agree. And perspective, I think everybody has the right to have their own perspective, and everybody has the right to look at a painting and have a view of what they see and how they imagine that picture and what it means to them, what it gives them. And we all talk about perspective and how you have your own personal um, position in that. The problem happens when the artist says, no, it's meant to be this. This is what I painted. This is what it's meant to be. And we're saying, oh, it's not what I see. I see this or whatever, and because we're all, especially anybody who has worked with any kind of artist will know we're all very sensitive about our work. And, it does make us become on the defensive. So I think perspective is a huge part of everything we're talking about. It's perspective on what we say, how we say, when we say it, the tone we use, everything. So I think that we really, really have to be able to be adult enough, and that's another key. Sometimes we do act like we're back in, I think you call it kindergarten, where we really do start slapping each other practically, just verbally, because, we don't like what the other person's saying. And I think it's really important, the perspective and allowing other people to have their own view, even if it's not your view, but as long as that view doesn't affect you, as long as it doesn't hurt you, as long as it doesn't damage you, then let them have their view. I think
So
that's the
I,
best way to
I,
be.
I would extend the idea of let them have their own views to let them have their own ways of being, their own ways of doing things. We're very, I think, we feel let down when people don't meet our expectations, like you said earlier, right? Some people don't respond in a structured way to a question. I'm thinking of now my process doing my books, for example. I'll say, right, I want this by this date. But some people just not like that. So they've got different abilities, got different lifestyles, different things they do, right? So I have to be flexible enough to say, right, let me try and understand how this person does what they do. Maybe send me this on this day, send me that on another day, send me the third part on another day, rather than saying, let me give you an example. If you want to really jar my brain, send me a list of things to do. I won't do any of them because now I'm bugged by all of them. Right? It's gonna take me time. If I can do it in 5 minutes, I'm not gonna do it. I'm literally gonna look at it and go, I'll do it sometime. Sometime becomes longer, right? Whereas if you say, send me this. Yeah, I can do that. Send me that. I can do that as well. It's just, I think, just adapting to other people's ways of being. That will help us being less disappointed that they're not
I
doing our way.
think, yeah, and I think that because we talk about more and more about diversity and full inclusion. And I know that I was in a meeting, actually, Annie, you were there, and we have differences of language even. And I said something, and this guy turned around and went, "You're a goat." And I was like, "Did you just call me a goat?" And like everybody was laughing in this Zoom call except me, who was completely offended that I'd been called a goat. And Enya was laughing and going, "You don't know what a goat is, do you?" And I was like, "I do. It makes noises and it's got horns and it's in the grass and on the meadow." And it's like, no, 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 it means the greatest of all time. It was a compliment. And I was honestly, my face was a picture. And in fact, if they've got that on video, I'd hate to see it because I was really like, "Did you just call me a goat?" Really offended and upset about it all. And it was one of the, funniest moments that I think that any will tell you. Everyone was laughing, and I felt really embarrassed because I didn't know this terminology. Um, but I think the part that we're talking about is as soon as someone told me, it was a compliment. I felt my cheeks go up and I wanted to hide and I wanted to, "Can you scrub that part of the video? Because, I'm really embarrassed." But it's about learning, and as you say, it's about expectation. And I think my expectation of that particular moment was someone was being very offensive, and it was actually the complete opposite. So, again, perspective. My perspective was he was being insulting. In actual fact, he was being giving me the biggest compliment of the day. Um, but it's about allowing yourself to say, "Okay, I get the joke. I'm sorry. I'm from England." And then
But
Ellie was
Paulette,
like, "So am I."
I think what it might have helped, and again, this is where I'm talking about generative discussion, is um, yeah, we have to give the other person the benefit of the doubt or whatever going in, but it might have helped to say, for that gentleman to say, "And that means the
Yeah,
greatest
of
of all
course.
time," because again, if you're in mixed, particularly languages or mixed cultures, that might not be understood. So it might be useful to kind of think about how that lands with your audience. That's something I
Yeah.
try to do. It's not really dumbing down, but I want to make sure we're all on the same sheet of music. Particularly because I have to deal with technical stuff a lot. So I want to make sure that my audience understands what I'm saying because I have a habit of throwing acronyms and concepts out there that not everyone might understand. So I've kind of learned to try to figure out, particularly if I'm getting blank stares or deer in the headlights, to say, "Oh, and this means blah blah blah." So that
Yeah.
that might have been useful.
And
I
also,
get.
again, Mike, on that note, what you just said, and that is again, if you're face to face with somebody, you've got the opportunity to do
Mm,
that. But we were in a Zoom call with about, I don't know how many people were in that Zoom call, maybe what, 10, 12, and it just came out of the blue. And it honestly just absolutely, I was knocked sideways, and it really should have been, as you say, "And that means da 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 da,"
mm.
and it would have been like, "Wow, thank you, what a compliment." But instead of that, I made this big scene about being all offended and getting on my high horse, as they say, and then it all being a bit of a laugh and a joke afterwards. But the 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 gentleman that said it was really upset that he'd upset me because what he'd meant to do was actually put me on a pedestal, and it kind of didn't work. But like you say, if you're going to use an acronym, just say what the acronym means, and then say, you know, "That's the biggest compliment I could give you." And that would have been like the most wonderful thing in the whole of the Zoom call. Whereas instead of that, I was being sulky and, I'm still feeling embarrassed and having these cheeks that were, I should imagine, pillar box red. So, but like I say, I think the most important thing about all of this is perspective and communication, and we've said exactly the same thing. And if you're going to write a piece about it, absolutely, that's one of the key issues there. I just mentioned Annie when I got called a goat.
Yeah, I hear it all, but
Here we
I'm
go.
just I'm
Do you
eating. So
remember
yeah,
when I
yeah, yeah.
got
I
called a
was there,
goat?
of course, yeah, of course.
I said,
Yeah,
and I was so offended, wasn't I?
yeah. I was
And
thinking of
everyone was
chasing you.
laughing,
I
and
was going to chase you and then hack you up and then put you in a pot and eat. I like goat meat, so yeah. Thank God we
not a
came
nice
back.
thing to say.
You see
I
what
was,
I think like you done it earlier. You said Brussels. If
yes,
someone from Brussels will be
throwing
like, "What the
Brussels at each
hell?"
other.
Yeah, throwing Brussels at each other. I know what you mean. You mean Brussels sprouts.
Yes.
In case anyone else was wondering what you're talking about, So it's terminology here.
Americans use the word Brussels. I've
Do
heard
they?
them. Yeah,
Of course.
I have no idea. So I don't know
yeah.
who does, who doesn't, right?
I've got enough American friends to know they use the word Brussels. Be cool. Listen, we
Right.
better invite Michael to talk. It's been
Yeah, yeah,
missing
yeah.
for a
Our
while.
time is
Thanks,
going to.
Mike. You're a star.
Let me
And
welcome
if you want
Lisa.
any,
Let
hi,
me
Lisa.
welcome Lisa. Says Sharon Rose. We do see you. Thank you so much for joining us. I see you making amazing comments, but my time is short. So Dr. Rosanna, glad you're here as well. LinkedIn user. Oh, who's LinkedIn user? Is it Christiana? Is it Luz? I have no idea. No, it's Annie Foster, my sister Annie. Welcome, Annie. How you doing? Glad you're here. Who else do I want to mention? I don't like not to mention, but Linda's here as well. Thank you so much for joining us as always, Linda. No, so that's about everyone I need to mention. Everyone, all the ones I can see. I said LinkedIn does what it does. Mr. Calm, talk to us. So we'll give you the last 5 minutes of the show, my friend.
Why, thank you very much. How you doing, Paulette? It's good to see you.
You too, sweetheart.
And thank you for calling me sweetheart. See, Annie? Those are my best friends. They call me sweetheart. And Mike calls me his brother. So, can you beat that, Annie? Is he there? Oh, you're eating. Oh, I forgot about
Annie is eating. Yeah, he could call you sweetheart, brother.
He said he was eating. I understand that too. You can get to that stage.
I'm not calling you sweetheart. No, not even the month of Sundays. No.
I just gotta get out there and harass you a little bit. But yeah, good comeback. My father always says, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure he'd even advise me even at this point, but he stopped doing that. But I used to always often hear him say, if you do not understand anything, ask questions. Ask so that you can understand. The biggest thing that I come to know about that statement, especially when I'm thinking about what Paulette is saying and what she's described and what Mike's described and what you also said, Annie, as well, is that if you need to be, when you put yourself in a position of asking questions, you pause your emotions. You pause your emotions so that you can understand where the other person is coming from. They do something that's annoying. They do something that freaks you out. They do something that puts you in, is tending to lean you towards an unhappy place. You certainly want to know why you're doing it. You certainly want to know what is the end game. Am I missing something here? So you ask the questions. That allows you to calm down, that allows you to allow them to explain, that allows you to pivot. Because you always do need to pivot when you're going down in that direction. Looking something better to do in case this is a worst case scenario. simply, instead of exploding through your emotions, redirect your emotions and your energy in a different direction. Ask questions, let them explain. Allow yourself to give yourself time to calm down and give yourself time to rise as well. Because you can rise in a different direction and in a better way. Your ability to gain in altitude from their negativity will be better for your platitude. Much better. And putting it into practice, you would see that you become yourself. You become a calmer self. You'd see you become a better person. You become a more honorable person and someone to gravitate towards by other people. People will gravitate towards you as a result. So that is my 2 cents there. There was something that Mike indicated when he said, "Don't take." He was going to write a book, and I'm not quite so sure if this is what he meant, but about biases, including their biases in a conversation, and not including them. Outs, what I when I want to communicate with somebody, I want to know them fully. I want to know what's behind them. I want to know what's beside them. I want to know what's above them. I want to know what's below them. I want to know what's in front of them. Hopefully it's me, but there might be something else. Their entire universe needs to be on display so that you can understand it. You can get a picture of what's actually going on within them so that you can, like I said before, you can pivot in the correct direction. That's how I see it. So I would allow anybody who communicates with me to come to me or communicate with me with all their being. Don't give me anything false. Give me everything that is true about you. And I'll try to listen and
I
understand.
like that. I
Yeah.
like the idea you give 100%. That I think Mike was trying to say is if you take the bias out, you can absolutely try to understand the person without the bias, and then you can bring the bias back in so that you can discuss it, including the bias. I think
Oh,
if you come to an argument with, and I heard this about you, you did that, and da 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 da, and you're like, whoa, hang on a minute. Do I get an opportunity to tell you where I was, what I was doing, why I was there, da 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 da? Let's take the biases out. Let's just ask ourselves, why are we in this predicament? Why are we always fighting? Why always looking to take the other person down? Why are we always looking to find fault with each other? And that is something that in family therapy sessions, you can really, people will go at each other about the most bizarre things. Loading and unloading the dishwasher is probably the one. I mean, we will smile and laugh about it, but actually, it's one of the key areas where people will come to a therapy session, and we will spend half an hour of the hour talking about the dishwasher, right? And whose responsibility it was, and you were supposed to do it. And you're not taking on your part of your duties, and da 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 da.
It's not that deep, is what my
It's
son would say
not
to you.
that deep. And I would
you know
say,
what? It's
I
not
say,
fair. They did
take
not
the
ask.
dishwasher away. Let's pretend we don't own a dishwasher. What else are we going to find fault with? Because it seems to me that we're actually looking for a reason to fall out. Do you see? It's not the dishwasher's fault, and it's not the loading and the unloading of the dishwasher. It's that you're looking to find fault with each other. You're looking for a fight. And I have found myself in many occasions saying to them, how about we just sell the dishwasher? How about we just sell the bloody dishwasher? Get rid of the damn thing. and then we can actually talk about something else, you know, because it's such a heated conversation, and nobody would believe me if I could tell you, you know, I swear it's true. Another one, crumbs in the toaster. You know, why is somebody leaving toaster crumbs in front of the toaster the most important thing on that person's day? They have gone to work fuming, absolutely fuming. They spent the whole day in a state of anger,
Those crumbs,
ready to
Paulette, those
come home
crumbs.
and blast.
No,
Well,
we're talking about
Crumbs
two
are
how you
like
squeeze your
the
toothpaste.
key thing, right?
Right, my friends.
and it,
And the thing,
it,
as please, Mike.
well, in my defense, what I was trying to get across is particularly when you're starting the conversation. One of my favorite sayings is seek first to understand, then to be understood. So if I'm coming with a bias or you know, an agenda already, I can't hear the other person. I'm not gonna hear the other person. So again, I'm looking for a generative you know, interaction. So I want to understand. Now maybe, and to Michael, I do want to be clear. I'm not going to leave, you know, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to obfuscate. That will eventually come out. But that's also part of, we have to go down the road and walk with that person for some period of time. We have to develop a little more of that giving, of the give and take, right? So we have to give a little and then hear that other person and then maybe you know, talk it out. And that's why I draw all this. It's related. There's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. That's a discussion for another day. But
Exactly, exactly. Mike, you know, look, we're not freezing this conversation. Let's do a part 2, Paulette. That's why I say. My son is the streets of Cornwall. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute, Paulette. You're on mute. You're on mute,
Sorry,
Paulette.
I
You're on
apologize.
mute.
I'm not anymore. I've done it. I've got the nod.
Yeah, we can hear you.
The understanding to be understood and asking questions is like one of the most important parts of any conversation. The problem is, if the heat's there, it's very difficult to ask questions.
I'm going. I'm coming. They're still talking. I'm coming. Right, I need to go.
Okay,
I really need to go.
we need to go. We need to go. Right, let's have a part 2, and let's
Thank you.
have Mike come in as a co-host and
Yeah.
and also Calm, and we'll
Yeah.
discuss what happens next, the
Yeah.
reconciliation and everything else with.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Thanks,
Bye-bye,
everyone. Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye bye. Take care.
cheers.
I'm going to just end.